how long will Ncuti Gatwa remain the Doctor? It's a question I've had on my mind for some time now. What with him being incredibly busy with other projects such as Barbie and Sex Education, it's clear that he's an actor in very high demand. And what with filming ongoing on Series 14 and talks of Series 15, it has got me wondering, how long can Ncuti Gatwa realistically stay in this role? So today I wanted to go through the possibilities of how long Ncuti Gatwa could stay, as well as what I would personally like and hope is the length of his duration. But before we get into it, if you could do me a teeny tiny little favour and click that subscribe button, that'd be very much appreciated. We are trying to overtake Big Finish, and our next stop is 20,400 subscribers. Any support is always appreciated, but with that said, let's get into the video. So I asked you lot on my community feed, how long do you guys think Ncuti Gatwa will play the Doctor for? To which I got 1.7 thousand votes, which is quite impressive, actually. And I'm going to be going through the responses to that. So 3% of you said one series. This makes sense, as it seems very likely that he'll at least do two due to Russell T Davis's mentions of Series 15, as well as various rumours about when it's going to start filming. The next statistic is quite interesting though. 18%, which is a good chunk of you, said 2 series. Now, there's been a lot of speculation surrounding this, in no small part due to the fact that it's been rumoured that Series 15 will also film this year. And with Ncuti being consistently busy, people are wondering if he's here to just do those 2 series and then leave following that. However, it's worth noting that the biggest portion of you, 68%, said 3 series, which does make a lot of sense. 3 series has kind of been enshrined into Doctor Who lore for a very long time. Patrick Troughton said do 3 series or 3 years and then leave. And that has, for the most part, been the trend of modern Doctors, with the exception of Christopher Eccleston. So it makes sense that the majority of you would think that he would continue that trend. And then, following that, 12% of you said 4 series or more. So I think it's pretty safe to assume we can rule out the 1 series. Now, I agree with you that the most likely option is 3 series. I think that tends to be the standard that Doctors follow. However, I can't help but feel that I would like a Doctor to break the 3 series rule. It gets somewhat predictable to me as a long-term Doctor Who fan that you get to the 3rd series of a Doctor and you kind of know it's going to be their last one by default. And especially with the episode counts in this era having reduced from 10 episodes to about 8 plus a Christmas special, I do feel as though an extra series at least would be preferable for me in order to really maximize on this Doctor, especially because Ncuti isn't the youngest Doctor, but he is one of the younger incarnations of the character, so I really think he has life in him for a few years as the lead. However, on the complete opposite end of that spectrum, it's interesting to note that more of you think he'll do 2 series than 4 or more, which indicates to me that a lot of you guys could see his career potentially exploding during this time period, which would mean potentially less time for him as the Doctor. And I completely get that perspective. You know, as I've said before, Ncuti is an incredibly busy and talented actor. It makes all the sense in the world that he would be busy. However, I do think there is a way of offsetting that and still getting either 3 or 4 or even more series without burdening Ncuti Gatwa too much, so he can do other projects as well. And this isn't exclusive to Ncuti Gatwa. Back when David Tennant was the Doctor, they made the 2009 specials when he was doing, I think it was Hamlet at the time. A way that they could kind of mitigate the workload of Ncuti Gatwa if his career does explode later on into his Doctor's life would be spin-offs. Now, we've spoken a lot about the potential of Doctor Who spin-offs. I, for one, think at least one is pretty much guaranteed, probably the Unit spin-off. And spin-offs in general are a great way of keeping the brand relevant whilst also not having the main show on. In the times that the main show isn't on, you can basically fill the gap. I also partly wonder if Series 14 and 15 being filmed back-to-back is kind of in preparation for if Ncuti's career does go a lot bigger, because theoretically, he could not film for another year following Series 15 filming if it start late 2023 and still have enough time to get Series 16 out for 2026, which is what Russell wants. He wants a yearly Doctor Who series, as he said in Doctor Who magazine. So I think it's pretty safe to assume, in my opinion, that he will at least do 3. However, my preference is that I would like him to do more. There is a fear in me that he'll only do 2 series and maybe some specials, but I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment too much because, quite frankly, I'm really looking forward to Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, and at the end of the day, it does feel a bit weird speculating about this at all, given that we haven't even seen him on screen yet. However, I would just really like a change up to the length of a Doctor. I'd like a longer Doctor for a bit, especially with the character arcs that Russell T Davies does. I think there's a lot of benefit in having something that's longer and more ongoing. The other aspect to consider is, of course, how long will Russell T Davies stay, and will he leave with Ncuti? That's also an interesting discussion, because obviously with Chris Chibnall, he left with Jodie Whittaker. However, that's not normally the norm. Obviously, it's kind of difficult with Russell T Davies' first run, because like I said before, Chris Eccleston only stayed for one series, but both Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies technically held 2 Doctors eras each. However, it's also important to recognise that RTD has already made 1 series before, which could sort of negate the possibilities of him doing a second Doctor after Ncuti, which to me indicates the possibility of Ncuti having a longer run, but Russell leaving with him. There's also the possibility, which I've seen a lot of people speculate about, and I personally think could happen, of Russell staying on as sort of a backseat Kevin Feige type, even after he leaves the main showrunner role, kind of as a sort of visionary for Doctor Who going forward, even beyond his own era, which I personally wouldn't mind. But now we're getting super speculative. What are your thoughts? How long do you think Ncuti Gatwa will play the Doctor? I think 3 series is the most likely, but 4 or more series would be my preference. Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down in the comments below. Be sure to like the video if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.